Thank you all for coming. I guess it's not too early in the morning and filling up the room for me here. So I'm Abe Kinney. I work at alarm.com. So my logo, I guess, is appropriate here today. I work on the product management team. I have a lot of things that I work on over there and research. But today we're going to move into something new and hopefully exciting that you guys haven't heard about before. So beyond thermostat, next steps in energy management. You might be asking yourself, why do I even care about energy management? And I think it's probably a good question that we'll get into. We'll revisit where are we today, what are the capabilities we have with current systems with thermostats today, how we meet the demand from customers, and then ultimately implementing solutions that can actually work and deliver value to customers, deliver value to your business. So again, why energy management? I think that's a great question. Is it worth learning a new technology? Is it worth learning a new implementation technique, new tools that you're going to have to work with when you're on site? I think so. I hope you'll agree with me by the end of the session, but we need to dig in a little more and examine this. Customers have definitely shown a desire for security and energy services. I think you all, with your success, have proven that the home security is a platform where you can add on additional services. You can add on video, you can add on images, you can add on home automation. So I think energy is a natural fit there. It also is a key contributor. You know, the security system is a great input, not just the brain that's relaying all the information back to the cloud. It's a key contributor and a component, I think, in a successful energy management solution. How much desire is there? Some chart of some polling done by an agency comparing security services with energy management. So starting with home video monitoring being most interesting, remote access control, home security monitoring, managing appliances, managing energy to utility and time of use rates, energy management for control convenience, and it is all the way on the end there, finally, energy monitoring. But still, as you look across the chart, it's not a significant drop. You know, it's still closer than you might have imagined to typical security. So there's an opportunity to bundle, there's an opportunity to try to tie these services together and bring more value to the overall install. Digging in a little bit further of why do homeowners and customers even care about energy management. I think there's a lot of reasons. I don't know that we need to understand it completely, as long as they actually do care and they want to buy something from us, right? So there's social drivers, of course, being able to be seen as the green thumb or the green person in their community, able to talk about the expertise and the efforts that they've taken with their home, how they're smarter, how they know more, how their home is tuned finally to the environment. It can be the expert, the early adopter, the guy who likes data. You know, these are all great stories and targets for energy management solutions. There's monetary reasons as well. Of course, people want to save, but I think there's an unstated need around information that's not shown on the slide and maybe not even often voiced by homeowners. Really, just that information story is one that you can tell that's reinforced by interactive applications as a whole. You know, you understand more about your home when you're getting notifications about opens and closings, notifications about windows being left open. Now you can get notifications, alerts, more information about energy and how your home is using energy. Solar is absolutely going to be another driving factor around energy management and adoption. Have any of you guys had customers ask about solar, or do any of you do solar installs? Well, not exactly in solar territory. It's still young, but depends on the state as far as adoption and the incentives that are going on in various states. But the prices are really coming down. The companies are getting more efficient with their installation and their products. So I think you're going to see that solar is going to become more of an offering that's just out there for anyone, not just in states with strong incentives. There's another chart on increasing solar interest. This is showing actually just capacity, I think in megawatts of installed residential solar. And really the numbers are not particularly relevant, but the trend is, of course, important. So you can see Q4 of 2012 was a record. Even Q1 of 2013 was record for a Q1, and 2013 as a whole is expected to be the best year ever in the industry for solar. And you just think about
United States?
United States, yes. So, and this is just showing installed, I think it's probably going to translate to tens of thousands of households if I do the math and try to approximate megawatts and how much is going into an actual typical home. But you can think about there being much larger interest. This is only the people that actually get systems installed. You know, they have good enough credit, they have the resources, or the incentives are strong enough that solar makes sense. But maybe their neighbor wanted solar, but they've got too many trees, other factors. There's a broader interest in energy, and I think energy management is a way for them to participate in that wider movement, even if they're not actually using solar. But for sure, users who do have solar, that's a home that cares about energy management, and they want to know more about how they're using electricity and how they can be smarter about that. So where are we today? I know we had the title, marketing gave me the Beyond Thermostat label here, but I do want to circle back a little bit and talk about some of the great features that maybe you're not all aware of, and we can dive into these in more detail in Q&A afterwards if there's something you guys don't understand or want to learn more about. So interactive applications have been fantastic to enable scheduling that's easy. You know, I know when I first connected my thermostat, the first thing I did was go in and change the schedule. It's so painful through an LCD interface. Most people don't even bother to do it. So simply putting a web interface on top of the thermostat is a huge win. Geo-services can now be an input to occupancy, so you're able to tie your thermostat to your phone or multiple phones in the home. So when you're not home, when no one's home, you can smartly set back the thermostat to an away mode. Similarly, security sensors, security system, when it's armed, that can also be used as input to drive that deep setback for more energy savings. All in all, these things tie together to allow us to offer intelligent schedule suggestions and more intelligent management of the thermostat. So I think these are all good things to review because these are inputs that we can learn from and take beyond the thermostats. These are ideas that we can take and apply to other appliances and other systems in the home for better savings and increased control. So, as I said, we do have to move beyond the thermostat. I want to talk a little bit about the challenges of energy management. I think that's one of the biggest things that we're struggling with to try and understand is it worth it? How can we actually design an effective solution? So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the maybe deeper thinking. I'll try not to get too philosophical here on the decision analysis, but energy management's a tough problem to solve. There are many challenges that customers have. There's a gap between intent and action. They want to save, they want to be seen as green, they want to conserve, but they're not able to easily. There's a gap between wanting to save and actually being able to do it. That intent is not enough. So think about saving for your 401k. You want to do it, it's a good thing to do, but it's always easier to put off for another day, say you'll get to it next month, the month after, or exercise. I'm sure we all want to exercise more, but it's not easy to implement a plan that actually gets you the results, and those should have huge health benefits, way better than saving a few bucks on your energy bill, but these are difficult problems to solve. Luckily, it's not on the security industry to figure this all out. There's a bunch of smart people out there thinking about conservation, energy management as a whole, and we can just take those learnings and apply that effectively to applications in the home. So first, talk about things that don't work. Information without detail doesn't work. When you get your bill at the end of the month, you don't really know what went into it. Did you use your thermostat in a bad way? Did you turn it down too low? Should you have been smarter with your management? Or did you just do a few extra loads of laundry and that's what your bill is telling you? Or was it just hot naturally and it's okay that it's high because it was hot and you still have some reasonable expectations of comfort? Remote control is useful, but in a conservation plan, automation is going to be better. You can still obviously tell the home automation story. It's still part of the whole suite of services you're offering, but being able to check your phone and turn off your lights when you're at the airport, that's great. But if we just know you're on the way to the airport and we turn them off for you, that's obviously a much better option to do. Specific point solutions, so just addressing the fact that there's needing to be a broad range of solutions to meet different learning styles, different goals, different ways that consumers are going to want to work with their systems. So we can't scold users. They're not going to all respond to penalties and alerts and flags. We've got to figure out how to engage them and be an active participant in some cases, give them the information, let them make their own decisions, really bring a lot of different techniques to bear when we're trying to tackle this problem. Let's get to solutions that do work. And people have thought about this, and we know real visibility works. Does anyone know what this is? Does anyone have a Prius or drive one? Well, this is the dashboard in a Prius that shows a lot of attributes for real-time consumption and activity. And it's hard to see there on the chart, but down at the bottom right is a current miles per gallon rating, 20.9 miles per gallon. And it's been shown that just that second real-time feedback has a huge impact on driving behavior. People are able to brake more gradually, they accelerate more gradually. Getting that second-by-second feedback gives them a new target, new goals, a new way to manage their energy usage of their car. So I think there's a lot of lessons we can take here and think about applying them to interactive solutions on the web or mobile devices. Goals work, and defaulting those goals work. And going back to the 401k example I was talking about, we know, and there have been several studies that show when you automatically opt in employees to a 401k savings plan, they don't often opt out. So we can take that same idea and apply it to energy goals. Let's apply smart defaults. They have to be reasonable. You don't want to scare them away. You don't want to have too much of an impact when you're launching the feature. But as long as they're reasonable, sensible, and you can have escalating goals that push the user slowly further and further, that can work. Again, maybe some of you have even seen this. I know my 401k plan has this where it tries to get me to save an extra percentage every quarter or every year. So I'm always trying to do more, even though it's not trying to be in your face about it or too guilty, not trying to push you too hard towards those goals. Finally, engagement with the home. So I don't want to cut out the user necessarily. Intelligent and automation is great, but there's still going to always be that homeowner who wants to be an active participant. The guy who ran around with a smart power strip in his home. How can we engage that guy and make sure those experiments he wants to conduct on his home can be input into an interactive application? And we can use that data as part of the solution as a whole. So again, there's not a one-size-fits-all solution that we are going to be looking for here. Finally, trusted advice. I guess I'm pointing the finger out at you guys. You're already in the home. They trust you with security. If you make a recommendation around energy management and what's going to work, they're going to believe you. This is going to be a good solution. In the end, we want to try and craft something that's going to deliver value all around and make a stickier customer experience. So it's important that the solution does work because you don't want it to be a detriment to the solution as a whole. You want it to be a value add. So I know you guys all came here to save the planet, right? And you're going to get out and share the green message, or want to figure out how to make a little money out of this solution instead. All right. So let's get into how we actually bring this to bear. What are the solutions for interactive energy management applications? How do we make this work? Well, it starts with measuring usage and getting data in. Unfortunately, the one thing that almost every home has a meter. It's already metered, it's there, they can tell how much energy they're using on a second-by-second basis, but, no one's going to go out there and read their meter every day, every hour, and understand what it's telling them. So it's a shame that it can't easily be interfaced or pulled back to the cloud via the panel or other systems. So we have to look for workarounds. There's several hardware solutions that I've seen and played around with that can help address this. And we'll go through them in a little bit of detail, and I've got some pictures so you can see them in action. These might be new tools, new pieces of technology that you guys haven't seen before. So on the left side here, you've got current transformer readers, or CT clamps, as you'll often hear them referred to. So these go around they clamp around the mains that go into the home in the circuit breaker box, and through induction they can measure the energy usage of the home. The pros are it can do quick data analysis. You can pull them and get real-time readings. They can do disaggregation. What disaggregation is measurement of specific devices in the home relative to the whole home. So there are particular versions of these that support multiple clamps. They might have 3 clamps, 4 clamps. So you would clamp it around the mains and then maybe also around the HVAC or the hot water tank and get more detailed information about the home. The cons, it may require an electrician. You're taking the cover off of the circuit breaker box, and in a lot of locations that does require an electrician's license. And they're more expensive than, of course, the plug-in devices in the middle, but we're still talking not an exorbitant amount of money, still probably in the $100 range. In the middle there, plug-in devices, and they come in all shapes and sizes. This one's sort of a snake design, but I've seen them ones that look exactly like the Z-Wave plug-in modules you're working with today. So the only real addition there is that they now can report energy, and they of course already work like a switch as well. So of course they're trivial to install. They measure individual devices very well. The problems is you are only measuring individual devices. You don't get that whole home experience, and you might be missing out on some of the largest devices that don't have plugs, like your HVAC, for example. But I think a good thing that might be coming in the industry as these devices are being built and the prices go down, I think you might be seeing generic plug-in modules are going to more often just have energy monitoring built into them. So I could foresee a day in the future where you're just installing plug-in modules, but you actually are putting in some energy monitoring capabilities by default. And you'll be able to take advantage of that maybe as an upsell later down the road, or as we talk about some other ways to get data maybe from the utility directly. You can see a great solution where you're getting whole home data from an external source, and in the home you've got a few plug-in modules to get that actual usage around devices the user cares about. And finally, this is a little hard to explain if you don't know how it works, but I'll get a picture later. It's a meter reader, so it's a device that actually clamps on the outside meter on the home. It's got an IR LED, and it actually watches the disc spin around and counts the line as it goes by, or it watches the flashing LED on some newer meters. Also easy to install. The accuracy claims are better than you think. It's actually pretty good. The cons are it's not going to work on some meters, and there's only a few options out on the market, so it's still not a widespread solution. Getting a little bit more, here's an example of CT clamps installed in a circuit breaker box. So you can see the covers come off. Those little white clamps are around the mains. I know it's a little faded to see. It looks scary. I did this at my home. I wasn't particularly too concerned about it. I just, wore gloves and I was safe, but obviously I'm the homeowner messing around with my home. When you're in someone else's home, you need to have a little bit different procedures. And in this particular example, that white device that's outside the breaker box and stuck to the wall there is a Z-Wave device that goes back to the panel and then back to the cloud. So there's other options where that might go to a repeater device, so it can speak a different frequency than Z-Wave to maybe address range problems, and then there'd be either a Z-Wave bridge or a Wi-Fi bridge to get that data back up and into an application. Here's that meter reader. So you can see that right in line with the spinning disc there's a little arm that goes out, and it's watching for the black line as it comes around. Obviously, because it's outside the home, Z-Wave is not going to work, and also from a battery life perspective, it's battery operated, so it needs to use a different frequency here. So it's going to communicate back to a gateway device, and that can either be directly connected to the cloud over Wi-Fi, wired, or it could be a bridging device to Z-Wave, Zigbee, what have you. Any questions on either of these two things while I've got the pictures up and how they might work?
Has Alarm.com had any direct contact with utilities in America trying to coordinate an effort?
No, we have not. There are, select utilities where we're working with on data analysis, but not in a broad industry-wide way yet. So it's still on a utility by utility basis, thinking about things not so much from energy management perspective or getting data into our systems, but we're talking to them a lot with demand response and how we can help meet their needs around managing their load around extreme events.
These devices seem pretty cool. They would actually give you analytics and data on the overall home energy consumption, but wouldn't you want to know individual device information too? That would be back to the modules that you plug in, right? Or
yeah.
Even on your house, so it's overall home energy.
Exactly, and I think the right package, and we're experimenting with this with our offering, is probably a combination of things. Either some component of whole home and maybe a few plug-in devices. So that's probably a good package that lets you get a little bit more information about what's going on.
Why does the clamp have to go inside the panel?
It's got to actually go around the main lines that are coming into the home.
So if the cable is exposed somewhere on the outside, you can use the outside route?
I don't know if they are ever going to be exposed outside of the breaker box. So those where the two white clamps are, that's the main electricity coming into the home. So I don't know if you're going to be able to get that split out anywhere else in the chain. But yeah, if there was, this technology can be used around anything. You just can get two lines and put the clamps around them, and you can measure electricity. So any scenario where that does exist, it will work. So talking a little bit about utility data, there is a standard out there called Green Button, which seems magic. It seems perfect. It's a standard XML format the utilities have agreed to for downloading data and communicating usage on a very granular level. I think the minimum is a day. Some even go down to 15-minute increments. So it's a great resource for data. Unfortunately, it's not widely available. It's probably still only around maybe a dozen utilities that support this. And the process is not application friendly. So you have to log into your utilities account, download this XML data, and then you'd want to go take it and upload it to your application. It's not going to happen. A couple guys will do it. It's great, but you can't really expect anyone who's busy to do this. I've got two kids. I'm not going to take the time to do this. I'm going to want another solution. However, it is evolving. It is a new standard, and I think if it ever becomes readily available and also automated, there's an idea called Green Button Connect out there, where you might be able to just authenticate one time with a utility, and then an application could pull that information more regularly, and that would be a fantastic solution for the whole home side. And sort of as we were talking about that solution where you might want to have plug-in modules and then utility data, I think that would be a great sweet spot. You're going to exactly match the bill every time because it's the same data coming straight from the utility, and then you've got other solutions around the home to measure specific devices and drive additional actions. The thermostat also has interesting data. So beyond just how we control the thermostat, we can think about how it's actually behaving and apply that to the energy management story we're trying to tell the user. So we can understand home efficiency. If we know how often the thermostat is running, how long it takes you to go from a setback temperature to your new scheduled change temperature and the temperature outside, we can compute whether home efficiency is something that you need to address. Also, those factors can help us understand what's going on with your energy usage as a whole. Again, was it just hot outside and it's okay that your HVAC ran a little more and you didn't meet your goal? That's a good thing to understand, that we want to know and not penalize the user for behavior that they've already optimized as much as possible, for example, on the thermostat. It's okay that it was hot and you still wanted to be comfortable. So also there's other supporting hardware we can talk about as a part of an energy management solution. So think about controllers for other large loads. You're not just now controlling for convenience. You're not just turning on lights when people come home or when doors open or on schedules for sunrise, sunset. There's other devices that people want to manage for energy usage. So pool pumps, window AC units, dehumidifiers, hot water heaters, sump pumps. And I think there'll also be advantages of having devices like this continually monitored as we go forward. You'll be able to analyze if a sump pump is running more often. Is it about to fail, for example? Or window AC unit, does it need to be cleaned? So there's lots of things you think you can analyze just by looking at that runtime data and other factors that are going to be beyond energy management, could lead into referrals to upgrading equipment or replacing equipment because it makes sense. And you've got the data now to back that up, that it is actually a wise move from an energy and a dollar perspective. Or sensors. Now you got to think about moving beyond just the perimeter and protecting the perimeter of the home. If you want to analyze occupancy and determine if people are in the home or not, that's a different story you have to tell, a different way you're going to want to implement a system. So trying to measure user behavior to get a more accurate understanding of occupancy, you want to have a motion sensor in common areas, not just where people are coming into the home. You also, what we're after in the end is providing value with comfort and convenience. So, the Nest thermostat is great, but there's a lot of feedback that's out there that it's just one sensor in the home. And even though it's smart and it can learn, a security system with everything you know about users coming and going, arming and disarming the system, has a way better picture of occupancy of the home, and we can use that data in a much better way to manage energy. How does this all come, to the user in an interactive application? Let's look at some examples of how this can look or might look. So we talked about the Prius example and how you can get real visibility. So here's a breakdown now on a daily basis of energy usage for a whole home. Now this is a vastly different picture that the users get. This is also before their bill hits. They can now see when it was hot, when I was on vacation, what are the behaviors that I'm doing day to day that impact my energy usage. So you can see probably on vacation or a long weekend there, and you see an estimated dollar amount. Having that dollar amount be present and in your face, they can see, hey, this is having an impact on my wallet, and if I do something now, I can actually reduce my bill before it even comes. Here's another piece of information on a single plug, a single device. I think this is around a home entertainment center, so the cost is not high from a monetary perspective, but it's interesting to see that there's just some low-level load that's going on, that phantom load at all times, and then periods of peak usage. One of the things I learned, it wasn't earth-shattering from a wallet perspective, but it was just that the entertainment set in my home consumes a fair amount of energy just sitting there when I'm not watching the game, right? So I added a schedule to turn it off when I'm at work or when I'm sleeping, and turn it back on when I'm going to want to, the weekends, or when I'm going to want to watch. And yeah, it wasn't going to impact my day-to-day life a lot, but it saved a buck or $1 or $2 off the bill. And so I think it's exciting to be able to tell those stories and actually see that I've done something to make an impact. I also talked about solar. So for customers that do have solar, bringing that data into an application is going to be critical. They're going to want to understand how their solar production data is offsetting their usage. So here you can see those green bars are indicating basically the sun coming up and the sun going down, right? That's how their energy increased throughout the peak of the day and then went down. But not everyone's a data geek. Not everyone wants to look at a bunch of charts and graphs. The dashboards are another great tool. So there's other ways to present information in a more graphical form, a more exciting form, to help users meet their energy goals. So we want to encourage usage, compare them to their neighbors, And also, I think a great idea is to add up the dollars over time. And we talked about, saving $1 from putting my entertainment set on a plug. And yeah, it's $1 a month. That's not a lot. But if we have a way to represent that to the user, and maybe they make a couple other changes, and then over the life of their entire security contract, 3 years, it's a few $100s, it's $500, right? That's a real valuable benefit. They come back and look and say, hey, look, this system saved me $500. This is good. This is actual real money. It took a while to add up, but it's actually something that I can go back and refer to. Talk about goals too, and letting users set appropriate goals based on their projected usage from what they've done so far in the month, looking at averages for their state, for their locality, for their neighbors, try and bring that all together for goals and trying to get them to hit a particular target. Engagement, again, with this device measurement for the experimenter, the guy with the smart power strip. We could create an application that lets you have just a select number, 1 or 2 plug-in modules in the home, that we can facilitate running experiments. I had a friend of mine who did have one of those smart power strips, and he went around and he analyzed everything, but at the end of the day, he just kind of had a bunch of numbers and didn't really know what to do with it. It's obviously not economical to retrofit every single outlet in the home with energy monitoring. So we could have a way that lets the user run an experiment, leave it on your refrigerator for a week, then move it to your washer or your dryer, and then plug it into your home entertainment center. We're going to capture some data. We're going to let you compare all those devices. So this is where you can get a more full picture of your home without having every single device monitored. So I think users know what in their home is going to be a likely energy hog, but I think there's some surprises too. So this would be a way for them to capture that data and do further analysis.
So are you going down that direction where that data is then used to calculate the load based on the time that lamp module may be on or off or something?
Yeah, so we would just measure over a period of time and probably boil it down to a $1 per hour number for lights.
I mean, once you've established it, like for instance, a lamp module that's got a 55-watt bulb in it, you could do as, it's not because there's a lot of installed base. Could you just simply put in a 55-watt bulb and then start tracking load based upon it? I know the load of that device, times the amount of time that it's on or off.
Yeah, that's something that could be done as well. Yeah, if there's not actual monitoring, that's a good suggestion to bring that in. Yeah, especially that's a great idea.
So make sure I'm following you here. You're looking at going and starting to plug these modules in behind entertainment systems, and refrigerators, and TVs, and those things. People moving these devices around and plugging them in to capture data.
Yeah, and it's not for everyone, but the people that want to know more information, it's a tool that they can have at their disposal. Like an important component to something like that, with people moving around in refrigerators, entertainment sets, is the ability to actually restrict remote control. So don't let someone turn off your refrigerator or your entertainment set, for example. So that's a key component.
So let's say there's a perfect energy management tool with dashboards that are out there. Is alarm.com going to have to be on an open platform where the customer can just go to their alarm.com and see that other platform to control energy within the thermostat?
We are building solutions ourselves. I think we'd be open to talking with other partners, but that's not something that's we've done or pursued yet.
The utility or the customer to use your platform, not the utility's platform.
Right. I think that makes sense. We want to pull them back into the same platform they're already using for security and management for everything else in their home. I think that can help you guys out as well.
As long as the Z-Wave or ZigBee or let's say Z-Wave sensors are out there, you'll be able to migrate that into alarm.com energy management platform.
Right, and I think we would love to pull in data, as we talked about, from the utilities. So we'd love to get access to that detailed data and bring that in to our interface and our dashboard. But yeah, we would like the user to interact in our platform. And I think we also can be smarter, because we talked about how the security system is a key contributor and a key piece of knowledge around how the home is actually being used. And if you're just going off to your utility to do that, you're losing that part of the picture.
And you're already doing solar, you have a solar app already where you're already telling customers how much they're producing and whether they're producing more or something back, or?
It's really just measuring usage in the other direction, right? So we're just able to understand that this is production of energy versus usage of energy and be able to display that. We want to work on smarter ways to message that and add that in the future, but still a little bit basic right now.
So that's all what the customer sees right there with the solar?
Yeah, they could see this today, yes. Other forms of engagement, alerts, of course, notifications. We hear a lot about the sump pump because that's something that I think people don't have a lot of great knowledge about when their pump is actually running and not running. So being able to alert users when there are large loads, especially at unexpected times, the pool pump when you're on vacation, or for a rental property when nobody's there. These are all great things and great stories to tell around energy management. We want to deliver more than just bad news. We want to also deliver good news, nudges to keep them on track, keep them in the right direction, and encourage positive behavior. Competition is also a great idea to get into the picture. Comparing to neighbors, similar households. I know if there was a cul-de-sac competition in my community, I would try and push myself a little harder to reduce my energy a little bit. Social media, people who like to brag about their usage, we can facilitate those sorts of integrations. And gamification, make it not so much a chore, a penalty, you're ruining the earth if you don't cut back, but instead, how can you try and meet this target, stay within these guidelines, meet the goals you set for yourself.
Excuse me, do you have real data on some of the savings, like for average LCD TV being shunted whenever the system's on, or whatever appliances that might run in a house, like a basic refrigerator? Do you have real data on what that stuff consumes on average, like from a selling perspective, what you can paint a picture for a customer and say, if you did this, you could save X amount of dollars?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of data off the top of my head. I know sort of relative to my own entertainment center, which was a cable box, a few things. It's hard because it's some, but is it $1 a month? It's not the best story, but I think as we learn more through these installations in the home, we'll be able to bring that data out, and we'd love to share it.
I think it's huge, especially when you're selling this stuff. You're telling them, hey, you may only save $2 per TV, or you may only save an average of $5 for your thermostat being, adjusted automatically when you get past your geofence, or those things are cool because you're like, okay, yeah, I'm charging you X amount of dollars per month, and I can help you save, this much. But right now we kind of make estimates. You'll save an average of 10% a month on yours if you have a thermostat.
There's a lot of great data out there I know on, we looked into for gaming systems like your Xbox, the PS3, those things are horrible. Just on standby power. So turning those things off and on saves significant. I think it's bigger than your TV, your cable box, and everything being on all at one time. So certainly walking in the home, you see something like that, there's definitely concrete data out there on that and how much usage you can get. Those are bad things.
Yeah, we've been selling this kind of solution for 2 years and had to stop about 6 months ago. We weren't selling much of it. And we have cooler things than you're even seeing here. We're doing battery backup for the whole home with a 19-inch card slot chassis with surge protection built into each chassis, all SNFP managed back to a console, and then grooming and cleaning all the power that's going into a house. The ROI from an energy savings on all this stuff, arguably it's going to take an owner 10 years to get the money back on the system. Even on a monthly payment plan, it's all about the cool. I want to be a green house. And not that many consumers, it's like the 2%ers in the marketplace actually have the money to spend on this kind of stuff. The biggest thing is a elusive thing that we couldn't quantify, but it truly makes sense. By cleaning power and by putting surge throughout the house, we are potentially eliminating televisions blowing up. We're extending the life of washers. We're extending the life of refrigerators because it's clean power. Those things it's intangible to some degree, but that was the one thing that kind of made sense to us. It's a really hard sale, and I'm in this thing to learn if there's new technology, and I'm really not seeing it right now. I would caution, I love this market, I'm passionate about it, but this is a really hard sell.
I am too. How do you say that was dirty power coming in and we're gonna clean it up? How do you sell that?
Well,
Yeah.
depends on certain markets. I mean, like Vegas is terrible for dirty power, and everyone in the community knows about it. I mean, they have spikes all the time, and not on there, but certain markets have problems with that, and the community knows about it. So if you're cleaning power and bringing in a clean feed, there's a value in that. There's devices that are very inexpensive, a couple $100. You can interface with the power stream of a house, and at least it's on. It's not
Are
necessarily
you doing
managed.
solar in connection with that then?
I'm not doing any solar.
That's your clean power, correct?
Pardon me?
That's your clean power, that's there momentarily, whatever you need to keep the road safe.
No, I'm talking about devices that connect up right to power companies, utilities coming into your home. You basically have an electrician put a box in between the house and the street, and it cleans the power, and it brings it in on a balanced load level. And there's LED lights on the outside of the house, you see the thing working. It's not, for $200 you can clean your house. It's not managed at a high level. I have those products too, but you're talking a lot of money, $2,000 for a homeowner.
Yeah,
I think that this is a pretty easy sale, actually. This stuff we're talking about, the Z-Wave technology, and if they're already kind of wanting to provide a solution to manage their home and already want a security system, already want the life safety equipment for fire protection and CO detection and water detection to save their valuables or their family, to tag on a few bucks a month for some management for a thermostat and lights and locks, I think it's an easier sell than we think if we know how to paint the picture for a customer and create the value, because it's only a few bucks a month. Yeah, it's $50 for this device and this device, but to be able to manage my home when I'm here at ESX and say, oh man, crap, I forgot to turn my lights off, to give me that instant ability to manage my lifestyle, I think it's a pretty easy sale, but it's learning how to integrate it into our security minds. I've been doing this for 12 years. I'm a security mind. So I think, this isn't security. I do security. Right. So it's integrating it into our regular sales presentations to make it, this is valuable to some people.
Yeah, but you're right about the ROI. If you go in with an ROI story, it's a very tough sell, and that's why I think the information story is better. You're getting the information around, as we said, comings and goings. Why not also get more information on how your home is using energy? And if you're just starting with a plug-in module that's got energy monitoring capabilities, and that's pretty much a wash, that's an interesting thing you can look to add on to an existing customer.
Also with that, complicated aspect of that is thermostat. And also what we're talking about it being automatic is better than having services with being automatic. You want to have automatic notifications that say, you're using compared to your neighbor, or is it going to be there digging through?
I think we need to have both aspects. I think we're at alarm.com a little bit further ahead on just getting the data in. I think that's where we need to start with our offering. But we absolutely have a vision towards automation and that being the way to go. And it's a good thing that I think we're always cautious about how much to do on behalf of the user, and that's where Nest maybe even has set a good example, that users don't want to do anything, they just want to put something on their wall and have it be smart and do it for them. So,
as clean as the alarm.com user interface with thermostats is, it's still clunky.
Yep.
It's still difficult to navigate for customers they want to do.
Yeah.
They want to do it automatically, but then features that they want, they can't. They want to be able to really quickly manually change if they want to, or they want to schedule it, and it's really difficult to have them figure out how to do it.
Yeah, and I think there's a great middle ground also with the geo services. I think you can get. My home in particular pretty much has two modes, I'm home or I'm not. And with my wife's phone and my phone, that's now even easier to set up. It knows when I'm home, it goes to the right temperature, when I leave, it sets back. So I want to, that is available now, actually on the alarm.com, so you can do that feature. probably a little bit too buried in the UI as you're talking about to get to it, but that's something that we call it the away from home override. It's the same thing that was there for arming your system away that would set back the temperature. So same idea, but now just takes geolocation.
Do you guys have the ability, have you been putting these new features, like featuring them on the home portal?
On the main page?
Log in, yeah. This is a new feature, check it out.
No, but you're talking to the right guy here. The home page is one of the next things on my list. It's too security focused, right? And it made sense when that was the focus of the offering, but now that it's not, it needs to evolve and paint a better picture around home automation and other capabilities. So we understand that adoption is low, and before we go and dig deeper into a ton of new capabilities, we need to also make sure there's enough adoption of the current stuff that's out there. So the automatic is going to be great, and as we can do activity tracking, better learning, behavior analysis, it's going to be a better solution in the end. So in the end, we're really trying to just create better customers. We want a larger install, increased recurring monthly revenue, and customers are going to be engaged with their home on another level. I think that's really what you're after. It's not particular ROI on energy, but they're going to see their entire home security system in a new light. This is something that helps me out in many ways, but also keeps me safe. So, a lot of questions along the way, but is there anything else that comes to mind that you guys want to talk about further? I don't know how we're doing on time. I think
I'm sorry, you mentioned earlier in there about a booster, like for boosting the CT reader signals back to like the security panel and stuff like that. Are you seeing challenges with the mesh network, like with the LAMP modules, stuff like that, not creating the right mesh, and that's a different booster you're talking about?
I've seen a couple different versions. One where it spoke a proprietary RF, so it used, 300 megahertz or something, I can't remember off the top of my head, back to something, in this case it looked sort of like a LAMP module, but it was also a Z-Wave bridge. But we are still learning more about Z-Wave. Just putting another LAMP module in the chain is working, but Z-Wave has its good days and bad days, and we know that, and we're trying to get smarter and work better with Z-Wave as well.
I just heard you say something new that y'all had or knew about.
We're looking into options, I think, from low-priced repeaters. So rather than making you pay $50, $100 for a LAMP module, is there a cheaper device that can just be a repeater that's more economic? Because I hear lots of stories about how, people having to give away modules just because they've told a story, and then to make it work, you need to add on a lot of expensive hardware. All right. Well, thank you all for the questions, and hopefully you learned something. Sorry.
I was going to say, we had an interesting story though in San Diego about our company's participation in this, where that may be a real selling point, where they're actually actively giving energy savings form of the bill and paying for the thermostat.
Yeah, that definitely comes into play with the thermostat story. That's where they see their demand response activities, and we might that might be a story we can work in that helps offset some costs for the consumer as well. All right, thanks again, everyone.